So going into next week, guys, I would like to see price pull back into these areas of 149.547 and 148.957 before we sell off. So we can use this area as our first target, which is 144.736. Welcome back, guys. You can see how price tapped into that zone on the daily time frame, sold off till this point, which I took advantage of on a much lower time frame. Let's go there and I will show you where I got in. So I got in on a much lower time frame. My stop loss above that zone. You already know how I love 2 to 1, so I took profit at 2 to 1. Although on the bigger picture, if I go back to the daily time frame, I am still expecting to see price drop into 144.736, but that depends on USD, right? If US dollar trades to the upside, of course, USDJPY will break back above here. So that's why I'm going to be giving a bullish and bearish scenario. So my bearish scenario remains the same. That is if you have a confirmation. But if price goes on and breaks above the 149.547 area, something like this, if price goes on, breaks above it, by then we must have created a new higher high breaking above here. Then we can catch it on the pullback. Stop loss below 148.957. Then our initial TP will be 150.964. That's the bullish scenario. But for the bearish scenario, I remain bearish from that zone, this current zone, all the way down to 144.736. The next on my list is GBPJPY. But for now, I think GBPJPY is giving us a bullish vibe, all right? And hopefully going into next week, I want to see price come into 193.3136, all right? Welcome back, guys. So you can see how GBPJPY made its way to our target from last week or even last 2 weeks, which is 193.136 before price sold off from there. Now, going into next week, what do we expect? I'm also going to be giving bullish and bearish scenarios on GBPJPY going into next week. So I'm going to put this trend line below. So for the bearish scenario, I think because if you look at the bigger picture, if I squeeze out my chart, around this area, you can tell that price is not picking a direction. So that is why you need to be more patient and more conservative with your entry. All right. So going into next week, what will I like to see? I'll go with the bearish scenario first. For the bearish scenario, I would like to see price break below 189.339 area, which will obviously break below this trend line I plotted on the 4-hour time frame, and also give us a lower low around this region. Then we'll catch it on the pullback. Stop loss above 189.947 and take profits. Bearish take profit remains 184.818. All right. And for the bullish scenario, then, guys, it's simple. Just wait for price to break out of 193.914 area. Then you want to catch it on the pullback. Stop loss below 193.136 and TP will be 197.332. So those are my bullish and bearish scenarios on GBPJPY. Pretty simple and straightforward. So guys, before we continue, I want to quickly apologize for not holding the webinar as promised from my last week's video. So going into next week, same time, same day, Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. West African time, I'll be holding that webinar on prop firms, all right, how to make money trading prop firms, all right. So I promise I'll be there. I've never defaulted. It just happened that last week something came up. I had another engagement, all right. So look out for that. Free webinar is going to be taking place on Telegram. So if you are not on the Telegram channel, the link is going to be in the pinned comments down below. So follow that link, click on it to join the Telegram. Then you will see the scheduled webinar that is going to be taking place in 3 days time, Wednesday. All right, so see you there, guys. Let's go back to the analysis. So the next on my list is gold. So going into next week, I'll put my bullish target here. Price is currently stuck in this range. So going into next week, I would wait for price to break out of this 2,928.759 area so that we can now continue bullish. All right. Welcome back, guys. So you can see how gold came into our target from last week, which is 2,954.634. All right, and price actually blasted above it, right? So going into next week, what do we expect? I need to delete these zones. These zones are from our daily trading strategy. Those on the mentorship program knows what I'm talking about. So it's actually a rules-based strategy. We follow the rules step by step until we get in. If you see, even on Friday alone, I got two. We got two profitable trades. There was one to the upside here. Like I said, I love 2-to-1s. Then there was another short one towards the end of Friday, which is here. Those on the mentorship program would know this strategy, right? All right. So that is that. Let me just delete all of this. So going into next week on the 4-hour time frame, I will be looking for a pullback. All right, that pullback, will it come true? I don't know, but I'll be looking for a pullback from where price is right now back into this area before we buy. Let me even make that area a zone on gold. Let me see. I think I should bring this guy in, then put this here, then drag this all the way up here. So I'll be expecting a pullback into this area before we continue trading back up, with this top side being my target. All right, so that is the bearish to bullish scenario. But if price fails to give us this deeper pullback, I could put this zone above here. I'll pull one line above that zone so that we can know that price level. So I would like to see price break out of this 3,000 area, $3,000 area. Let me say 3,004.645 area. Then we'll catch it on the pullback. Stop loss below this zone. Then we usually just go for my simple 2-to-1. But make sure that your stop loss is below 2,993.805. All right, but you know what I'm thinking? For the fact that price has come into the 3,000 round number area before we saw this rejection represented by this top side wick here, we may actually most likely go for that deeper retracement level before price buys off again. As a matter of fact, let me even expand this zone to this area. Then I'll bring this line down to the area, because I can see that we have an area of demand around here. So probably price will most likely come back for a deeper pullback before we trade back up. But these are the scenarios I'm looking out for going into next week on gold. Then the next on my list is DXY. So my DXY analysis remains the same as last week. So if you missed out on my last week's video, this is the link to the top right corner of your screen right now. Follow that video to catch up with that analysis, because price actually didn't move last week. Price just traded within that range. All right, so going into next week, my analysis remains the same as last week. So what I'm saying basically, I gave a detailed analysis right last week, so I would recommend you go back and watch that video. It's time stamped. You can actually jump to DXY, so just it's easy to locate if you visit last week's video. But just a quick recap. I actually want to see price on the 4-hour time frame break below 103.389. Then we'll catch it on the pullback before we continue to the downside, with 101.657 being our bearish target. And for bullish target, I would like to see price break above 1.04.290. Then we'll catch it on the pullback. Stop loss below 104.036. Then target 105.435. All right, so for detailed analysis, once again, revisit last week's video. All right, the next on my list is EURUSD, which is pretty much also the same. Visit last week's video to see the detailed analysis I gave, because price was trading around here last week and price basically just moved sideways. All right, so going into next week, I want to see one of two things happen. You see that price goes on, break above this area here, this create a new higher high here, which is higher than this swing point here. Then we can now confidently catch it on the pullback. Stop loss below, let me even put a line there. Stop loss below what do we call that area, 1.08692, before price eventually takes off That's if price is committed to going bullish before price eventually takes off to our bullish target, which is 1.12001. All right. But for bearish scenario, I'd like to see price break below that what do we call it again, 1.08692 area. Break below it, not just breaking below it, break below this trend line, not just breaking below the trend line, but giving us a new lower low around here, which is obviously lower than this previous low here, right? Then we can now catch it on the pullback. Stop loss above 1.08991 area. Then bearish target will be around here, which is 1.06803 before we either go bullish or break below that and continue to this lower point here again. All right, so these are my bullish and bearish scenario on Euro USD. For a detailed analysis, once again, revisit last week's video. So the last on my list for this week is GBP USD. So just like I've mentioned on DXY and Euro USD, to get the detailed analysis on GBP USD, since it basically just still remains the same as last week, price was choppy throughout last week, right? So price really didn't move after my previous analysis. So I would recommend you go back to the last video to catch up with the detailed analysis. But just a quick recap: if price continues higher into these two regions here, as represented by these two green lines, you can spot the price levels, right? If price continues there, then I would expect a retracement into 1.28600 area before we go back bullish. All right, and if that happens, I'm expecting my next bullish target to be 1.31680. All right, so that's what I would like to see on GBP USD going into next week. And if price fails to reject here before coming for that pullback, before buying to the upside, let's say for whatever reason you are not yet in this buy, I'll recommend that if price fails to reject here and come back for the pullback, then wait for price to break above 1.30527 area, catch it on the pullback, stop loss below 1.30132, then target remains 1.31680. All right, once again, for a detailed analysis, just visit last week's video, since price basically didn't move significantly after that last week's video. All right, so yeah, just a quick reminder, don't forget to join our Telegram channel and be a part of our next webinar that is going to be taking place on Wednesday, all right, which we're going to be talking about money. I'm going to be showing you proofs of how I make money, my most recent withdrawal certificates from prop firms, since most of us are familiar with prop firms and all of those good stuff. So make it a date with us. And that brings us to the end of this week's analysis. I wish you a successful trading week, and I'm going to see you on Wednesday. Bye, guys.